Hey loves, my name is Iphannie and this is the Iphanniebgentle podcast. So I was recently scrolling on Instagram and a live popped up, so I just decided to join and say hi. The person's name was James Wright Chanel. If you don't know who he is the Patti LaBelle pie guy. I've known him since before he blew up on Instagram and social media in general. He actually did my hair for prom. So shout out to you, James. Hey, what's up? But he was talking about, and it was a brief live, it was maybe 5 minutes. He was talking about how there are people who are comfortable in dysfunction, comfortable in their crisis, comfortable in chaos. And it made me think about all the times where I dealt with people who not only asked for advice, but really made me feel like there was just so much shit going on in their lives that were out of their control, and it really frustrated them to the point where they just could not function anymore. And when I was listening to his live, he was saying that these people are kind of the people who will sit there and ask for advice or tell you, this is what I'm going through. Can you help me through the situation? What do I do next? Walk me through a solution for my problems. I'm going through so much. I'm so stressed. I can't handle it anymore. I can't take it anymore. They're on the borderline of depression. And you give them advice and you really try to walk them through it. Sometimes you even take on some of their burdens onto your own, to the point where it's starting to stress you out, and especially if you're an empath, you become so stressed and overwhelmed with these people's issues to the point where you're just like, okay, we need to solve this together because now it's my problem too. And you give them the solution, and instead of them actually taking that solution, they kind of just throw it to the wayside because they don't actually want a solution for their problems. They don't want a listening ear. They want attention. I'm talking about attention hoes, okay? I have known quite a few people who are attention hoes. Whores, hoes, whatever you want to call it. They are thirsty for attention, whether it be good attention or bad attention. Whether it be, oh, they're going through something, let me, reach out to them more. Let me hang out with them more. Or just any type of attention they can get, they are thirsty for it. They fiend for it. They're driven off of that kind of attention. And I've noticed that so many times, everyone in their friend group actually has someone who is like that. And I know that sounds crazy because you're like, why would anyone in your friend group be like that? Why would you be cool with anybody like that? But we don't realize it. I have someone in my friend group who, when listening to his live, instantly popped up into my head. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was literally that aha moment. I had that aha moment because I have always been the type of friend who is there to help my friends through whatever, there to help them if they're struggling with something financially or mentally or physically or emotionally. I am always there to step in, lend a helping hand, and really pull them out of that crisis. But I have one friend who literally lives for the crisis. When I say they live for it, and I know that they weren't built that way because they didn't grow up in that crisis lifestyle. I have friends who have literally been parents, quote unquote parents, to their siblings their whole lives. They don't even know what it is like to have a childhood because they have been a parent their entire childhood up until adulthood, and then they have their own kids, and it's just they're engulfed in being a parent that they understand and they know what the sacrifices are and how the struggle feels and all that stuff. And then I have a friend who literally has never went through shit. Literally has not went through shit. They literally have not went through shit. They have signed up for a struggle life. They didn't have kids. They were literally the last person in our friend group to have kids. They didn't have kids. They were taken care of by their parents. They were spoiled rotten. Didn't have to go through anything. Got whatever they wanted. Everything was, still having their cell phone bill paid for them. Type of shit. Being real back in high school days type of environment. That is what they were raised in. And it becomes a little frustrating when you think back on all the times where you were literally having to struggle to figure out where your next meal was going to come from, or how you were going to pay for certain bills, or what you were going to sacrifice because this needed to be paid or this needed to be taken care of. And I'm not saying that that's really anybody's fault, because there's some people who, like I said, were born into the struggle lifestyle. They were born into a life where shit was just hard. And I know everyone can think of a friend who was just like, damn, they always was going through some shit. And it's not something that they deserve, because I do believe some people deserve a little bit of a tough love type of situation, or a little bit of a struggle life, because they just be going through absolutely nothing and they look down on everybody that goes through something. So you need to feel a little bit of the burn too, so that you can understand the severity of the struggle, because everyone's struggle looks different. My struggle might not be your struggle. Your struggle might be, I gotta find out who's gonna watch my kids. My struggle might be, okay, well, I gotta find out who's going to wash my car. Like, you never know. Like, and I know that's like, for some people, that's not a struggle. But if you have OCD, for example, and you need stuff to be done a certain way, or you are pressed for a deadline and you need stuff to be taken care of a certain way or a certain time, and you just cannot get it all done by yourself, that isn't a struggle in and of itself. So everyone's struggle is different. Everyone goes through things differently. Everyone feels the pressure of things differently. Just because you might fold in my struggle does not mean in my struggle I'm gonna fold. I might just rise up because of my struggle. But then I have those people who ain't never been through shit, and they are choosing to go through shit voluntarily, literally, like, hey, sign me up for the struggle life because it looks cool. It looks fun. It sounds fun. There's nothing fun about the struggle life. Now, I have had some fun times in the struggle life, but there's literally nothing fun about trying to figure out, like, now I haven't had to go through this personally. I haven't had to, like, figure out where my next meal was coming from. I haven't had to figure out, like, where I'm going to get my clothes from, or who's going to buy my shoes, or who. I haven't had to figure out that, because my parents did an amazing job at making sure that I had everything that I needed, even some stuff that I wanted. Now, I didn't get everything I wanted. I wasn't super spoiled, but I would think that based off of everyone else's lifestyle that I've kind of heard of, I was kind of in the privileged, when I got older, I was in the privileged section, and I wasn't really privileged like that. Like, I was one of the only kids at my high school to have a car, but it wasn't like a super fancy car. I wasn't driving no Bentley, no Beamer. I wasn't doing that, but I was one of the few that had transportation and was able to come and go as I please. And, you know, I had certain things that I look at as a necessity, but of course some people are like, well, I didn't have that. I didn't have this to look at it as a necessity. Like, for example, for a while I had a car. By the time I turned 16, I had a car, and I had friends who were catching the bus, and instead of, you know, if I saw them at the bus stop on my way to school, I would just be like, hey, hop in the car, I'll take you to school, because it's cold or it's raining or whatever. And there's no reason why you need to catch the bus when you can just hop in the car with me. Come on, let's go. And then you have those people who are faced with situations where they're like, do I choose to go to school, or do I choose to watch my little brother and sister because my mom is addicted to something, or because my dad is, you know, a drunk or whatever. Like, there's different levels of struggle, and there's different levels of crisis. And I know a few people who literally have done everything in their power to ensure that their kids do not have to ever experience the struggle or crisis lifestyle, because although it taught me a lot about myself, it also taught me that children should never have to worry about things like that. Like, I have one kid, but if I had more than one kid, I would never have put my child in a position where they would have to watch or take care of their siblings, because that's not their responsibility. I don't believe that kids should watch other kids. That's not their responsibility. If something happens to your kid, then guess what? That's still on you. It doesn't matter if you had their little brother or their older brother or sister watching them. It's still on you. It's your fault. You shouldn't have set that up like that. Like, you should have got a babysitter, someone that was certified. There's always things that can go wrong. So I've never been one to be like, oh yeah, you need to take care of your siblings. But I have been one to be like, okay, I gotta watch my brother because my parents have to work late tonight. fine. It didn't bother me because I wasn't really one of those kids that like went out and partied and all that good stuff. Like, I didn't do stuff like that. Especially when my parents went through their divorce, I was very much like, let me kind of pick up the slack. If my mom has to work extra nights or whatever, let me kind of like take the load off of her. I was always the let me take the load off of you type of kid, especially because I was like the oldest in my household. So I wasn't really I wasn't running rampant, y'all. I was really chill. I was a really chill kid. And shout out to my parents, though, because I know I probably wouldn't have been a chill kid if it wasn't for my parents. My parents were really, I won't say like they were super strict, but they were very like, you know what you need to be doing and you know what you shouldn't be doing. And I'm not really like a people pleaser. However, I can see that I have some of those people pleaser tendencies in me, but I'm very much like, I am a bitch. I must admit, I am a bitch. Like, I'm very, very straightforward. A lot of people can't handle how straightforward I am. A lot of people can't handle like my mouth. I'm very like quick with the tongue. There's a lot of shit that I just feel like it's unnecessary. Like, what you did was unnecessary. Why did that make sense to you? That's the type of person that I am. And I'm like that with my friends. So when I have friends who do dumb shit, they tend to not come to me. They tend to be like, y'all, please don't tell Iphannie, because I know she about to be like, bitch, why did you do that? That was dumb as hell. And I had a friend who literally waited, I think they were like, and this is when I was young. This is my best friend from kindergarten, okay? She got pregnant at a young age, and she literally did not tell me until she was like 6 or 7 months pregnant. And she was like, best friend, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, bitch, are you stupid? We're 12 and 13. Like, I know that sounds crazy as hell that I was talking to my friend like that, because she's like, friend, I'm pregnant. This is what's going on. But in my mind, it was like, you need tough love now more than ever, so you don't do this again, because this can knock you out of the game. Like, a lot of people that get pregnant really young, they don't succeed in life. But after talking to her, you know, years later, she told me, and we're still really, really good now, really, really close now, still one of my best friends. She told me, like, you hurt my feelings so bad. Like, you cussed me the fuck out. You hurt my feelings so bad that I did not have another kid for 10 years. Like, you literally scared the shit out of me, because I don't know, back then I was really like, I'm more censored now. Back then I was really reckless, and you're like, you were 12, how reckless could you be? Very reckless. I was very reckless back then. I didn't have a filter. I wasn't very like soft-spoken. I've never been soft-spoken. So I was a bitch to her. I must admit, I was a bitch to her, but it was a necessary move for her. And because I knew how she was, I knew that she could handle it, and I knew that she needed it. And she was like, honestly speaking, Bess, like, I literally would have probably gotten pregnant again after that. But because you ripped me a new one, thank you. We ended up getting pregnant. My first child, Chandler, and her daughter, well, Chandler was born November 29th, and her daughter was born, I believe, November 18th. So her daughter is 2 days before my birthday. I believe it's the 18th. Or is it the 19th? I don't know. She's right by my birthday. So, like, but they're both 6 years old. They're both, you know, the same age or whatever. And she has that large ass age gap. But it was necessary. And it was necessary because it taught her that she signed up for a struggle, but she did not allow that struggle to take her out of the game. She graduated high school early. She got a good job. She works for Tesla. Like, she's killing the game now. She's really doing it. She bought her first house. Like, she's really doing a great job. She got married. She has 2 more kids, and she's really just like exceeding what you would expect someone who was 13 years old having their first kid would ever exceed, because it does not happen often where you see, especially black girls in America, like having kids young. You're like, okay, they're gonna end up on the county, they're gonna have Section 8, they're gonna have food stamps, all that good stuff, and they're not gonna graduate high school, they're not gonna graduate middle school, they're just gonna be, you know, bums on the street. And that's what the stereotype between about having like a young or a child young is like focused around. But she proved that she did not allow her chaos to become her circumstance. And I love the fact that she took what I said, although it was very harsh. She took what I said and she turned it into fuel, and she was like, I got to prove my best friend wrong. I have to show her that I'm not just gonna be a bum on the street. I'm gonna be someone worth it. And she did that exactly. Versus my grown ass friends now, who are, and granted, we're adults now. All of us are 28. As of right now, we're all 28 years old. We're all the same age. We're all 28 years old right now, and we're all like going through our own stuff. And I'm married. One of my friends just went through a breakup. One went through a passing of a spouse. One is a baby mama. Like, we're all going through our own stuff. But I have one friend in particular who every single time this girl asks for advice, I'm like, now, are you asking because you really want it? Or are you asking just to have something to talk about? And I feel like she is that one friend out of all of our friends. It's like 5 of us. 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 4 of us. All 4 of us, we all kind of go to each other for certain things. Like, I might go to Emma for one thing. I'm going to Connie for something else. I'm going to our other friend for something else. And all 4 of us kind of like intertwine our like conversation and figure out who can help, best facilitate our issue and help us resolve it. And we kind of all have like our circle in which we entrust each other with everything, but we kind of know, like, okay, well, I go to Connie when I want to talk about this because I know she has experience with this. I go to Emma when I want to talk about that because I know she has experience with that. I go to Iphannie because she has a branch of experiences with a whole bunch of different things, and she can kind of like sprinkle in her knowledge of everything. And she kind of, every time I ask her something, she somehow knows about this, so I'm gonna ask her, and I guarantee she's gonna have the answer for me because that's who I am. And then our other friend is our other friend, and she is the one who I feel like thrives in crisis. But it's not thriving in crisis as in I'm doing good in crisis. It's her chaos is what stimulates her life. Like, she gets off on the chaos, and I don't understand why. At least I didn't until I watched James's live, and he was like, some people, they literally look for the chaos. They look for it. They are begging for it. They are pleading for it. Their body is fiending for the chaos because that's what keeps them motivated to keep going. Not going in a positive way, but just going in general. And that's exactly what she is. And it became hard for me because I'm very empathetic, especially with my friends. Although I'm an asshole, I'm very empathetic, and I can really feel when something is weighing on them and how stressful it can be for them. And so a lot of times I try my best to kind of like resolve their issues, because if not, yes, I know they're stressed out about it, but it starts to weigh on me too. I had to learn to kind of step back from this friend in particular, because their shit was just foolish. It just didn't make any sense. There was no rhyme or reason. It was just chaotic, and it was kind of sickening. It got to the point where it kind of like engulfs your body, and it makes you physically, mentally, emotionally sick, because it's stupid. It's stupidity at its finest, and it just does not make sense. And I'm the friend who, it needs to make sense to me. And I make a lot of stuff make sense. Like, a lot of things that my friends tell me, I'm like, this don't make no sense at all. Let's figure it out together. And we figure it out together, and then we find a way to find a resolve. But this friend in particular, I had to literally take a step back and be like, I can't do this anymore. I had to cut her off in a mental state. Like, my mental had to detach from her mental because it became too much for me. And a lot of stuff, I can take a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff is like, it just helps me kind of move on, and I can hear what you're saying, understand what you're saying, put it into perspective, and then keep it pushing, or give you a resolve. Her shit, there was no resolve because she didn't want to resolve. And I had to come to the realization that if she doesn't want to resolve for her issues, I can't force one upon her. And I had to step back. So I say all that to say, if you have that friend who you love them to death, you want nothing but the best for them, but they don't want the best for themselves, you have to take a step back, pull yourself out of that relationship, and you can love them from afar, but you can no longer support the stupidity that is them. And I know that sounds really freaking harsh. It sounds harsh as hell. Like, what do you mean support their stupidity? It's literally stupidity. You have to understand that just because you guys have history does not mean that you guys need to go on forever. I, again, can love someone from afar. I've had so many friends that I had to come to the realization that we are no longer compatible because everyone has a time and a season in your life. And their season had expired in my life, and I was trying to hold on because of that history, that timeline that we had. I was like, oh, but we've known each other since elementary or middle school or high school, or it's been 20 years. I had to let that go. Because you're thriving in, or you're happy about your chaos that you're in, and you're in this crisis, and you're just like engulfed in this crisis and you love it. I can't deal with it because I'm trying to elevate. I'm trying to move forward in my life. I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to ensure that not only myself, but everyone around me is having like the best luck and they are really moving forward. And I can't move forward. And I've noticed that a lot of times I'm holding on to friendships, relationships with people. I'm a boyfriend, a best friend, something. I'm holding on to these people for dear life. Like, no, you can come with me. You can come with me. And I can't even make it to my next stop, my next destination, my next level up because I'm trying to drag them on. They're like I'm like a little bag lady trying to drag these people on in my life. And I can't do that anymore. I had to literally walk away from so many relationships because I had to realize that God is not going to allow me to take those people with me into my next level up because all they're going to do is destroy that level up. They're literally going to hinder my ability to thrive on my next level up. And that's what I had to do with some friends. I had to cut them off because they're thriving in this chaos and I'm drowning in it and I can't do it anymore. So, if you are one of those friends who are always asked, hey friend, I need advice about so-and-so, or can you help me with this, that, and the other? And every time you give this person advice, every single time you give them advice, it seems like that advice is going in one ear and out the other, or that advice is just bouncing off all the walls around them, but it just cannot seem to stick on them. Those people are thriving and living for the chaos, and you need to separate yourself from them because guess what? If you don't, that chaos is eventually going to engulf you and literally take all of your love, all of your compassion, all of your ability to support everybody else, including yourself, drain you of it and spit you out to the wolves. No longer supporting people who are engulfed in chaos, who are consistently ignoring the way out, ignoring the help, ignoring the love and all of the advice that you're giving them, because I have a lot of friends that give great advice, but then we always have that one friend that just seems to fall by the wayside, and you're like, well, didn't I tell you, I've been through this situation, this is how you handle the situation, and they're like, yeah, but I just felt like maybe that wasn't for me. And then you're like, and bitch, that's exactly why you still where you at right now, because it wasn't for you, quote unquote, for you, and you're just enjoying the disaster that you've created for yourself. So make sure, if you are one of those people who are thriving and surviving in chaos, that you don't bring your friends down around you, because it gets to a point where people start cutting you off and you're like, oh, I thought that was my best friend. Oh, I thought that was like, she was like my sister, or he was like my bro. And they just start dropping me like a fly. That's why. Because you were holding them back and you were doing too much for them. And I had to learn to let those people go, and you need to learn to let those people go too. You got to let those people go who are always, I know everything, I have an answer for everything, but you still in the same struggle. How? How do you know everything? How do you know a solution for everything, but you're still in the same struggle? How does that work? Let those people go and see how far you get in life, because that is also holding you back from your next elevation. That is holding you back from your next level up in life. Thank you so much for listening this week. And this is the Iphanniebgentle podcast. Today was my little ramble day, okay? Because I had some stuff I had to get off my chest. And what better time to do it than to do it on my podcast, where you guys can get to kind of see an inside look on what I go through when I'm dealing with certain people that I know for damn sure I don't need to be dealing with. I need to cut certain people off in my life. It's springtime. It's spring cleaning. Clean those people out of your life that are no longer serving a purpose. And yes, everyone in your life should be serving a purpose. If you're not benefiting from someone in your life or something in your life, it needs to go. Just like if they're not benefiting from you anymore, then you need to go from their life. Because although you may think like, oh, that means you're just using them. No, that's not what that means. That's not what that means at all. If you're dealing with somebody and you guys are literally not offering each other anything, you're offering each other nothing, there's no reason why you guys should be dealing with each other. Because every relationship that you have in your life should serve a purpose. Every relationship. Whether that be the relationship you have with your mom, your dad, your siblings, your cousins, your best friends. Like, there should always be something, a purpose being served within a relationship. Because if there's not, then what are we having a relationship for? We're not doing this anymore. It's spring cleaning. Time to take out the bad energy. Time to take out all those people who are just using and abusing you, not offering you anything in return. There's no exchange of love. There's no exchange of wisdom. There's no exchange at all. It's time for them to go. They no longer serve a purpose in your life. You no longer serve a purpose in their life. It's time for you guys to elevate and make space for the next great person to enter your life and help you elevate as well. Again, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. My name is Iphannie. This is the Iphanniebgentle podcast. I can't wait for you guys to hear the next episode. If you guys are interested, make sure you guys hit me up in my DMs at Iphanniebgentle podcast on Instagram, and you guys can send me suggestions on episodes. What are some things you guys want to talk about? What are some topics you guys want me to touch on? I am actually thinking about having a situation where I am doing a podcast and I video call one of my followers, and we have a open and honest and candid conversation about the topic at hand. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely let me know in the comments down below here on Instagram and on YouTube. And also, if you guys are interested in that, make sure you guys send me an email at theiphanniebgentlepodcast@gmail.com. And thank you so much for listening on either Apple Podcast, Anchor, Spotify, and YouTube as well. So thank you guys so much. I will see you guys in my next episode. Bye.